Hey, what's going on, everybody? The market is green today. I mean, look at Bitcoin. It's a little bit positive right now. Theta 2%. Look at CRV up almost 15%. XRP about 2.5%. Theta 2%. So it's a little bit of a relief day today on this Monday afternoon. So let's look here at CRV since it's actually really doing pretty well. So just let me compare that to Theta. You can see Theta's candle did not take the high. Bitcoin's candle definitely didn't take the high. XRP, what I'm talking about is this candle here. This current daily candle has not yet broken these two candles, right? So when we look at that, for example, on Theta, you can see the same thing. But when we go to CRV, you can see it's clearly taken this candle here. So that is interesting to me because if CRV can do it, obviously they can as well. By the way, CRV is a lower cap coin, which means sometimes it preempts certain moves, right? So, sometimes the smaller cap coins actually make the first move because it's easier to move that asset. You know, if I throw a rock inside of the ocean, you can't really see it. You can't see the splash, right? But if I throw a rock in a children's swimming pool, you're definitely going to notice the splash. And that's the difference, right? Think of CRV like a small pool, right? Versus Bitcoin is like the freaking ocean. So, we have also, look at this, from the close, from the bottom of the close here, and also from here, right? That is obviously a lower low, and then boom, when you turn on the divergence, the RSI, you can see higher low. So we have bullish divergence. And where does the bullish divergence come from? Between what? The fourth and the fifth. So we have 1, 2, right? That's wave 1. And now we need 5 waves in wave 3. So we have 1, 2, 3, big 4, 5. So that's wave 3. So we have 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, this is 5. Okay, so we have obviously, right, that's what you want to look for, divergence between the fourth and the fifth. So the question is, are we bottomed out? Are we finished here? Because, when you look at this chart here, let me actually go to this chart so we can zoom out a little bit here. I mean, this thing is at all-time lows, guys. That's why I decided to buy. That's, and not just my doing. I have a couple friends that also were interested in it. I never really was until a subscriber asked about it, and I looked at the chart and I said, it does look like it could have some interesting levels, but I'm not interested in it yet, right? I think that was obviously back over here, right? Somewhere over here. So since it's taken out this entire range, right, all the way over here, we were building this range and it broke below the range. So, you can look at that as a massive bad thing, but you can also look at it as an ending wave here, right? So, because if you have boom, 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 so you have the initial crash, you have the counter wave, and then you have that sort of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So to me, that's a 3-wave correction that took out the low here. So I think this could be very bullish moving forward. So is there, I'm sort of reluctant to look at new coins and new assets, even though this is not a new coin, but charts that I'm not so familiar with, not because I don't know how to read them, but because, there's only so much you can look at. right? And there's only so many things you can buy. So I try to not tease myself with a lot of new charts like, oh, look at this chart. Oh, look at this chart. There's a lot of charts out there that, you know, could provide really great returns. But at the end of the day, you got to keep that within an area where you can manage that, right? Sometimes people have way too many coins. They have like 30, 40, 50 different altcoins, and it doesn't make sense. You don't need that many coins to be rich, right? To hodl through all of this, right? When we look at something like ADA, for example, you don't need 100 different altcoins to hodl through all of this, right? Because when you look at the total 3 right here, and whatever happens here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C, right? So this is 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, right? Eventually we're going to get either a complex 3 wave pullback, or we're finished and we're going to hit the high for wave 5 after building maybe a base down here, hashing out a low. The question is, if you're holding a bunch of altcoins, you know, it's going to be kind of difficult to manage that. So for me, I like to focus on maybe 3 to 4, like no more than 5 altcoins at one time, right? Especially for trading. Like trading, I try to keep it under 4. For hodling, I try to keep it between, you know, 5, around that area. But because here's the thing, you don't want to spread yourself too thin on a lot of these coins, because it's also psychological. If you have, for example, 3 coins, right? I mean, they're all going to go up pretty much nicely together. You know, some of them might outperform the other coins, but at the end of the day, it's pretty much averaged out to be about kind of the same, right? Especially if you have 3 or 4 up to 5. You're going to get a good return with those. Now, let's say you have like 10, 15, or 20, but the problem with having that many is, yes, you're more diversified, but what happens is you spread yourself too thin on each position. So instead of having 5 heavy hitters with, like, you know, I'm just throwing a number out, like let's say you have a portfolio valued at $10,000, right, or $5,000, and that 5,000 is spread between 5 altcoins. That's $1,000 each. But if you bump that up to 10 altcoins, now you only have $500 in each of that. So you know, and you could say, well, it kind of is the same thing. That's true, but it's number one, you have to manage more, and then number two, you're going to be less prone to sell, because you're going to look at it and you're going to think, well, I didn't really make that much, right? If you have invested $1,000 in a coin, a hodl position, and it goes up 5x, you got $5,000. But if you had, let's say, double that, and you invested in like 10 different coins, right? And you had a 5x, right? So you would only get about, what, $2,500. So you might look at that $2,500 and might think, oh, it's not enough, I need more. So you're going to wait for that, you know, because it really becomes like managing your psychology as well. Because when you look at 5 coins that are doing really well and providing great returns, you look at them, it's easier to sell them because you have so much more of it. But if you have a lot of different altcoins, then you're going to want more of a return on those individual altcoins, because that initial investment is a lot smaller than the rest, right? Some people can manage it easily, but I find that it doesn't really matter, you know, how many you have, as long as, you know, it's good to be diversified, but you don't want to have so many altcoins where it's like, oh, I got to have that one. Oh, I got to have that one too. I got to have that one. You know, you put $20 there, $50 there, $30 there, $100 there. It's just ridiculous. Instead, just concentrate that on a few good assets and you'll be set, right? So anyways, let's go back to Bitcoin here and see what she's doing. You know, I like what I'm seeing at the moment, which is this is starting to flatten out here. So we have 1, 2, 3 candles in a row that are basically at the same level. I could see this green candle here is a hammer candle. That's a reversal type of candle. This candle here is actually retesting 50% of this wick down in here, or actually probably more than that, closer to like 80% of that candle, which is good. So this tells me that we're potentially, obviously we're consolidating, but we could potentially be hashing out some kind of bottom in here, right? We want to see some sideways action, right? Similar to, for example, something like this in here. It's not really a good example, but you know, something actually more to this level. You can see how we started going flat in here, right? And we started to, you know, really hash out a bottom. But if you look closely, what did it start with? It started with a massive dump. But then look, you had the doji, you had a doji. You have all these dojis in here saying, you know what, I'm exhausted. I don't want to continue going down on that trend. So then what happened? So if I turn the RSI on, right, what do you see? Well, to me, it looks like you have 1, 2. We came down for 3. We went up for 4. And then we swept the low for wave 5. So you can see we actually had bullish divergence between the 4th and the 5th. And that was a good spot to go long. And then you saw that engulfing candle come right after that. So, you know, we could get something like this. And it's also in the same degree of the same wave. What I mean by that is, if you look at this 5-wave move, right? 1, 3, and 5 are in the same degree, and 2 and 4 are also in the same degree. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So this wave 4 and this wave 2, they're in the same degree, right? Which means they should act a little bit, you know, similar in regards to time. So you can see, right, this one came up, came back down, came up, came back down, went sideways. This one came up, came back down, came up, came back down, and now hopefully we can go sideways, right? So if we take a, for example, a bars pattern here and get some kind of, you know, it's not going to look like this, but at least it kind of gives you a little bit of a visual of what we can hope, what we hope to expect here. So let me put that right about there. Right? So you can see, you know, the big thing for, you know, the big sort of conversation that I see people having is this 5 waves in here, right? And, you know, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It looks like 5 to me. But, you know, since this was so long here, that this could be an extended 3rd wave. What I mean by that is, you know, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So that's wave 3. Then you come up and you hit the bull market support band for a wave 4. Then you come down and you sweep the lows here for a wave 5. And then you kind of have a 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? So, you know, if we do have another wave down, I think it'll just be a sweep, considering how long this one is. Usually when you get an extended 3rd, you get a 5th sweep, right? So it's kind of like basically, you know, sweeping the lows. And then also when you look at the microstructure on that particular idea, right? And if I turn on the RSI, let's actually go to the 6-hour here. Basically what that would mean is, you know, if we have another low, we kind of want it, you know, 1, 2, 3, we come up here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We barely sweep the lows, and then you have a low, higher, lower low, and then hopefully this can get back up here, as it goes up, comes down, and now you have bullish divergence on the microstructure. So that would be a really good spot to buy. So if, think about the sentiment right now. Think about how everybody's bearish and, it's going down and it's not feeling good. The altcoins are getting killed because, But at the end of the day, the market does the opposite of what people feel, right? So if people are feeling bullish, right, and you start having people call you up, cousins and brothers and sisters and friends and uncles and whatever, and they call you and they say, hey, what's this crypto thing doing? That's when you know the bull run is over, right? That's kind of how you know, is when relatives who don't ordinarily talk about crypto on a daily basis, when they start calling you, that's when you know, right? But as far as if you take the opposite of approach of that, when people start throwing out bear market, oh, we're going lower, that's kind of how you know we're getting close to at least a local bottom, right? So, if you think about the sentiment right now, it's pretty bad. So can you imagine us going up and then taking out the low again, right? Because first of all, when you go up, it's real psychological too. So when you go up, you're actually at a higher point. So since you're right here, and if you fall down, it's like, okay, whatever. But if you go all the way up, and now people, feel that drug of 60K and that relief, now you're at a higher point. So now when you fall, you have a much longer way to go, right? So this creates the illusion that we're continuing to fall, right? For example, if you look at this low here, and then you take this low all the way to this low, it's a pretty big drop. But if you add that three-wave shape, now it's a really big roller coaster drop, right? So that creates sort of the illusion of it's falling more than it really is based off the lows of where it was, right? So this low was at 58.53. This one was at 53. So it's a big drop, but it's even bigger from way up here. So if we come down, right, we're coming down, again, think about how many people are feeling bearishness. And there's still a lot of people who are bullish too. So, it has to work itself out. But if we start coming down here, people are really going to be like, okay, because every time you take out a low, you take out a low, you take out a low, you're adding millions of people, or at least hundreds of thousands of people, flipping from bullish to bearish, like they can't take it anymore. So if you have another wave down and like you're right at the lows, people are not going to feel, and then feel pretty bad. And then when you break that low, then they're going to like really like, I can't take it anymore. So if we do get that, right, and we do have bullish divergence on the smaller time frames, right, then, right, you have 1, 2, you could say this is a 1, 2, 1, 2, right, and these are a bunch of 1, 2s in here, instead of this being this is 1, 2, all of this is 3, this is 4, this is 5, and that's wave 3, right, because wave 3 needs 5 waves. So all of this in itself can be 5. Then you come up for wave 4. Then you come down for wave 5. And that would get us around that 51K area. And that's what I'm thinking here. That's what I'm thinking here at the moment. Now, the bottom could be in. Definitely could be in. But as far as cash goes, dollar cost averaging, I would actually, if you haven't, you want to buy at, dollar cost averaging is, when we come down, you're buying this range in here. We drop again, now we're buying this range in here. If we drop again, we buy this range in here, right? We're trying to average here. So, because before we didn't know if this was a three-way pullback, but it was so big that it broke below the bull market support band. It's probably just best to wait and see. And, fast forward today, that's, that was paid off to just wait and see. So, back when I was over here talking about losing the bull market support band, mentioning, it's a good idea to conserve some cash. So don't go too heavy with your purchases, right, of crypto, because we want to really have evidence that a bottom is in, and we want divergences. So basically saying, look, just try to save some cash, hodl, right, and then just save and just wait and see. Because if we do, right, when we had this dump, that was a good spot to expend some of that cash. Wait for a three-way pullback. You can sell it, but then it's really no point in doing that from a spot position, from a hodl position. So just hodl, right? We come down again, we make a new range here, then you dollar cost average again. And now you're doing so with 5 waves and with divergence, right? So yeah, that's sort of the main idea here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we have 5 waves, and that would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave A, right? You guys already know. Wave B for the new people who don't know, and then that would be wave C. And that 3-wave move is correcting this 5-wave move right here. So we have a 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? And so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, and then we need 5. So we could be getting ready to wrap up this final C leg in here, right? So get your C legs on, and we'll get there very, very soon, I think. So yeah, we're gonna know. We're gonna know. And here's the thing: if we come up in 3 and then we hit to the downside, but we continue to impulse to the downside, then I'm not gonna like it as much. I'm not gonna like it as much. This is gonna be way too big, too long of a crash here. Then I'm gonna think, okay, we're pretty much kind of screwed here. So then we're gonna come up in 3 and then continue down. And then what that's gonna be is some long reaccumulation phase where we get between, I would imagine that between 30 and 50K area, or actually 30 and 40K area, right? Basically going into some kind of reaccumulation structure before ultimately breaking out to the upside. And that could totally happen. So we're still at that kind of inflection point here of do or die, right? And then, right, so if we lose this ABC structure, then we're probably going to come down and back test 30 to 40K and kind of go in sideways accumulation mode, similar to what happened back the last time. We came up, right, and then we went back down into reaccumulation. Look how long it took for us to get out of there, right? So we had rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation. Here's your sideways base, right? Blast off. Same thing here. You have a rise, crash, retrace. Come down for reaccumulation. And then here's your sideways base. And then you continue rising to the upside. And then that would kind of be, I mean, what's the count for that? It's kind of difficult to say. It'd be too big to be a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. I mean, it's possible, but look how long this took for the wave 2 versus the wave 4. If this was a wave 4, I don't think it was. I think this is 1, 2, 3. This is 4. And this is 5. The question is 5 finished? Well, it doesn't appear that way because we only have 3 waves in wave 5. So we still need 4 and 5 to be a complete 5-wave move. So, you know, it's basically just a wait and see type of moment. What I really wanted to show as well is we still have a 3-day 9 buy, and that candle closed, right? Let's look at the 4-day chart real quick. Okay, so we're about to get a 4-day 9 in 2 days, okay? The 5 days definitely a lot longer away. Yeah, so let's focus on the 3-day and the 4-day. The 2-day, we had a 9 buy at the pivot of wave 4 here, which is normal, right? So it wasn't a reversal 9, but it was a bounce. You can see right here, the 2-day 9 worked out, right? We started going sideways here. We came up, but it was only, we couldn't sustain above these red dots. And we got rejected and we continued going down. So, let's go back to the 3-day. This is a much more orderly fashion here. And you can see now we have a sort of a 5-wave shape. And now we have this 9 here, which means we want to see a sideways base get formed. Let's see if I can find, and then look at this, we also have one down here as well. It's not really too perfected, but you can see, you know, we were kind of going sideways in here for a little bit, building a base, waiting to activate that 9, and then you can see we broke above with a green 2 going above a green 1, right? So it actually was a good example. You know, you can see sometimes we get real close. Like this was an 8. We got real close to a 9, but couldn't quite get it. So we haven't had a 9 buy on the 3-day chart in Bitcoin since September of 2023. And following that 9 buy, we went up, Bitcoin went up about 185% following that 9 buy. Now, do I think it's going to go up another 184%? No. But, you know, can we at least get up, you know, 40, 50%? Yeah. Right? So if I take a fib retracement here, and I go all the way down, contention, this is low. There's a problem with pulling fibs, right? I haven't ever pulled fibs in this range because we don't know if the low's completely in yet. But I'm going to just set it right there. And the big number we got to get through, obviously, is this top of this range here, really, right? But also getting back above the 702, which lines up with the bottom of these candles here, that bottom of the order block, right? But the target that I'm looking for Bitcoin would be about 89K right here at the 1618, provided that this is the low, right? Now, if we have another extension, then I'm going to be looking at between 109 and 121. Now, there's going to be a lot of psychological resistance at 100K, right? So my question is, does the crypto community deserve, based off the infrastructure, based off everything that's been built out, does it deserve a $100,000 Bitcoin, right? That's not me for me to decide that. So the market will decide if it's worthy of it. So, you know, we're sitting here at 56,000. You know, that's a double. That means Bitcoin would have to go up, right, to hit the 1618. Basically $33,000. So it'd have to go up another 30 grand, right? So to put that in perspective, back over here we were at $30,000, right? So, you know, from 0 to 30 is way harder than from 30 or from you know, from where we are now up to that 90,000, which is a $30,000 move, right? As far as percentages go. But yeah, that's what I would look for, is that $89,000 area. Now, another way we can pull some fibs here is if I take, right, well, first of all, let's do this. I'm going to take a fib extension. I want to see where that third wave landed us. Trend-based fib extension. We're going to take it from the bottom of wave 1 to the top of wave 2, right? This is a B wave, so that's not the top, right? So this is the top right here. But yeah, we'll put it right there, and then I'm going to drag it all the way down to the bottom of wave 2. And you can see we hit basically the 2618. So we nailed it pretty much. Now, you know, there's a lot of gray area in here because I don't have all the inputs in, but okay, there we go. So we actually hit the 3. We actually hit the third, right, which is a 3x multiple. So, you know, right in there from that region. So that's definitely a third wave. Now for a fifth wave, you know, it's not going to be the same length. It's either going to be a lot bigger or a lot smaller, right? So we'll find that out. But let me take this off. Let me take this off. By the way, our EMA ribbon, I'm going to look at that on the weekly here. So our EMA ribbon, we're sort of right in the middle of it, which is not bad, right? We don't want to break below that weekly EMA ribbon. Definitely don't want to break below that. The problem, though, is you can see the last cycle, we never really broke below sort of those first few lines here. So, you know, we're getting a little bit extended. We really need we need a bounce. We really need to get the heck out of there, right? We don't want to spend a lot of time down here because then the selling pressure can definitely increase. We take that off, and then I'm going to take a fib extension from the bottom of wave 3 to the top of wave 3. The problem with this is we don't know if wave 4 is in yet, but I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to see where we can get to. So the very least we want is a 1-to-1 extension, which becomes at $102,000. Now, it's hard to say if that's going to be. I would actually be a little bit more conservative and put it down to about 50K here. And yeah, about 98K, right? And you can see the 618 comes in at about 130K. 120K. That would be an amazing alt rally if we can get something like that, right? But if I take it off log scale, that's a big wave, guys. That's a big wave. That's a lot bigger than wave 3. You can see how small wave 3 is compared to how big this wave would be. So that would be actually an extended fifth wave, right? You would get 5 waves. So 1, 2, 3, 4, extended fifth all the way up here. That's why I'm like, I don't know about that. I'm not too sure if that would be plausible, especially if the interest rates are so high, liquidity isn't as much as there has been. But anyway, provided this is a low, we definitely want to see between 85, I would say like 84 to 90K would be a good conservative target to have. And then anything above that is just kind of like a bonus, really. So you can see this neckline here, right? This resistance line. I would really like to see, you know, you can see this big shoulder here, this huge head, ABC. I want to start to see this round out here and break out to about 75, 76K, right? So something like this, and that would be massive. That would be a huge inverse head and shoulders. So, you know, and I'll be conservative with the target. I'll put it from here to here, And then I'll put that right about there. I mean, that's freaking about 120,000. And that lines up with one of the fib levels. So we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. It's going to be very hard to get it there, though. It's going to take an exorbitant amount of... It's going to, like, take a country, maybe a couple countries, to put it on their balance sheet, right, on their... So we'll see. But yeah, 80 to 90K would be a reasonable target. So let's look at some time analysis here. If we take the previous fractal of actually 2 cycles ago and we line it up to where the all-time high is, you can see right where we're at. So let me try to... there we go. So I'm not looking at the fractal from a structure perspective. I'm looking at the fractal from a time perspective. And from a time perspective, we're still very much so on track, right? You can see the last bull, actually not, I keep saying the 2017 bull run, right, broke out into a new all-time high, the equivalent of it doing so in September. So we still have some time, right? So if we're, put it this way, if we are somewhere in September, October, and we haven't broken out yet, not to 100K, but just breaking above this, that's all we want to see, is a break above that. And we have until September. So we have some time, right? August, we have all of July, August, right? So we have about 2 months to get it done, right? So right now we're at about 2 months ahead of schedule based off the previous structure, give or take a couple weeks, right? Depending actually where you put it. So yeah, it's actually, and even from a structure perspective, it actually looks pretty decent here. Let me put this right about there, right? You can kind of see obviously the bull, the bear market, the base in here, that first mark up and then sideways, first mark up, sideways, right? And then you kind of had another mark up, right? This 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and now we're sort of, you know, this was actually a running flat, A, B, C, running flat. This is not a running flat. This is just an ABC. So regardless, it was a 3-wave move, right? So it's actually looking decent there from a time perspective. Now, if I do the same thing with this cycle right here, and I actually take it from the bottom of this cycle here and to the bottom of the cycle we're in now, you can see we still haven't broken above the all-time high. And this one is actually even longer. This one doesn't break out of the all-time high going back right here. So basically December. So we actually have between, we're actually 2 to 6 months ahead of schedule. Let me repeat that. Everybody's so bearish right now, but think about it. I don't know why, because we're actually 2 to 6 months ahead of schedule, right? The last bull cycle, we didn't break all-time high until, how long was that? Let's see. I'm going to put this bar here, right about there. Just give me a ballpark. It's not totally exact. 728 days, right? So about 728 days. So right now, from the bottom here, we're only about 602 days. So we still have, you know, some a decent size amount of time left, right? So, you know, people look at corrections, they look at price, but they rarely look at time, and time is just as important, right? Time is very important when it comes to price, because that's how people get used to the new price zone, right? If we went to $100,000 tomorrow, that's going to be it's going to be an extraordinary feeling in the market, right? But you know, if we were at 100,000 2 years ago, people don't care anymore, right? That's because the time has passed and people are used to the new price. So from both cycles, we're actually ahead of schedule. So we're right where we should be, right? And we're actually mimicking more so this cycle down in here. So I'm actually just going to take that, right, and put it right at the bottom here. And you can see now it's debatable if you want to put it here, right? If we did put it there. So, you know, regardless of where you put it, we still have plenty of time to catch up. So also, you know, I'm just kind of looking at things we don't really typically look at. You see this trend line here. We can still come all the way down and retest this trend line, right? So if we come down in here, somewhere in here, basically we don't have to come straight down, but we can go sideways into the trend line. I do think this trend line will be tested at some point. So we'll see about that. And by the way, now if I take this fractal, right, and I shift it over from this high, right, which is technically the all-time high, but not really, because that was a correction, then again we still have plenty of time. But then also we would also have more time to actually retest that that trend line there. So what else we got here? So yeah, a reasonable area here would be probably this middle band here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That brings us about 90 to 120K here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Targeting that middle. It'd be too hard to target this. So that's another thing we can look at. Looking at the 3-day Ichimoku cloud, we're right at this bottom area of this cloud in here, so on the 3-day, so we'll keep an eye on that. The Bollinger Bands, we're actually at the bottom of the band here, so we're getting a little bit squeezed, or not squeezed, but sort of, you know, towards the bottom of this band here, so we would expect some kind of a bounce. I mean, yes, it can keep pushing down, but we'll have to wait and see how that plays out. You can see this one here, we actually sliced through it a little bit and then went sideways into it, similar to what's happening now. The 3-day star, we actually broke it to the downside. That's not really good. So we want to get back above that. Let's see what the weekly is. I think the weekly is broken too. Yeah, so, you know, the goal here is to get back above those weekly stars, but I really wanted to show the MACD here. You can see on the weekly chart we totally flipped over, which is not really what you want to see. So, you know, this thing can still have a lot more downside to go. But that doesn't mean we can't get a fifth wave. For example, you could see, you know, we had divergence here, right, on this one. So if this comes down, right, and then it comes up, makes another high, this can come up and make a lower high, and then you would have bearish divergence between the fourth and the fifth. And that's kind of what we want to see here, right? So we still got some room to go. I mean, usually when you get back down to the sort of the zero line, you bounce up. We're still quite a ways away from it though. So that's another thing we gotta keep an eye on. All right, let's take a look at some altcoins here. I mean, we already looked at CRV. We're also on a 4-day 9, and it looks really good. It's flattening out in here, so we'll keep an eye on that. The very least I'm expecting for this one is to come back up and retest this here. So if we have to come back up here and retest it, that'll tell me if I should keep my trade, hold my trade, maybe we pull back and then we can break out of it, or it'll be a reversal. But I'm expecting some kind of bounce back up into here, so we'll see. Okay, so the price of theta, right? I'm talking about bullish divergence here between the fourth and the fifth. We're starting to flatten out, which is a good sign. That's what we want to see. So, you know, we have our oversold area. You know, we could get if this comes up and bounces up and then we make another low, we want the RSI to make a higher low. Then we would have sort of that triple bullish divergence. So 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. And that would be, you know, just even more reasons to consider going long for a bounce here, at least back up to this top part of the range, about $1.70, $1.90. So for theta, you know, really not as much as saying. I put a video out yesterday, a theta only video, so definitely go check that out. Basically right here, a theta 4-day 9 buy signal plus 5 waves plus a 3-day BTC 9. So yeah. XRP, I kind of saved this sort of little fractal here on the chart. I might get rid of it. I'm not sure. But, you know, I don't think it's going to shoot up like a crazy rocket ship. But I do think that we're going to get some massive move once this thing is complete, right? Because when we look back in the day, we can see that's exactly what happened, right? We talked about this before where, you know, this was our structure, right? XRP, if you just don't look at anything and you look at that, it looks pretty bearish, right? I mean, you have a rise, crash, retrace, reaccumulation, sideways. It looks like it's just boring, going sideways forever. I don't want it anymore, right? Oh, look at that. We broke the range, and then boom, we exploded, right? And it's the same thing what's happening here. So this reaccumulation structure, right, is the key to unlocking this sort of jigsaw puzzle that XRP is doing. Now, it could be, you know, the bottom, right? Because we can see that was the case here. We were bouncing on the trend line, bouncing on the trend line. We broke below. We grabbed that liquidity in this spring, right? And that's what took us to the upside. So we could be at that pivotal moment where that could be the case, right? So let me go to this chart here. You can see that big doji candle right there. Look at that doji. That thing is like, nope, I don't want to go down anymore. When I turn on the sequential, we're on a 6 on the 6 day. Let's see, the 4-day. Okay, so we have a 4-day 9, which is good. And you can see right here, why is the 4-day important? Because the 4-day 9 called the bottom. The last time we had a 4-day 9, we went all the way up to a 4-day 9 sell, and the 4-day 9 sell called the top, So the 489 called the bottom, 489 sell called the exact top, right? And now we have another 489 buy. So, you know, we'll see how that plays out. And then if you go back even further than that, you had a 9 buy over here, which resulted in approximately, you know, a 30-40% move. Same thing over here, about a 40% move. So a 40% move from where we are, you know, gets us at least back up to that 50 plus 55 cent area. But yeah, we really want this thing to be at least close to finishing here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. 3-wave move. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A, B, C. Let's build a base in here, and let's freaking go to Mars already. Yeah. So when I look at let's look at the 2-week chart here. The 2-week chart is actually on a 7, interestingly. And so basically in 1 week we're going to get an 8, which means 2 weeks later we have a 9 on the weekly, on the 2-week chart. And the last time we had a 2-week 9 buy was all the way back here in July 2 years ago, which resulted in a pretty substantial move. So from this 9 buy, it wasn't really perfected, but it was still pretty decent. We had a 150% increase, right? So you can see the red dots, you can see the green dots. We're sort of in between there. You can also see, you know, from a triangle perspective, that we did break below the triangle, right? Now, a lot of times the market makers, they break below triangles to grab liquidity, right? So I can adjust it a little bit here. And you can see, boom, we broke below the triangle, right? But, you know, if you look back over here, we did so as well, right? We broke below that triangle. You can see right there. So, you know, if I do this, you can see right there. Same thing going on right here. It's all about liquidity, right? So that's the retracement. There's our retracement. And then here's our accumulation. So, yeah, it's man, what a time, right? So if it needs to flip around, it needs to do so pretty quickly. It doesn't have much time, right? Because you don't want to spend too much time below that trend line, or you're gonna have more problems later on. Another thing too about XRP, right? We built our first base in here, and then we built our second base in here. But you can see, right, we sort of lost that. So I'm wondering if that is essentially the same thing as back over here. Only time will tell about XRP. And it really is going to be contingent on Bitcoin getting us above the all-time high. Data Fuel, I mean, nothing really much to say here. We're back testing the top of the range, right? Our Wyckoff range. We broke out, we're back testing. Let's hold the area. Build a base and continue to go. 1, 2, 1, 2, let's go. Right? If we start going up and we lose it, then we're going to look more bearish. We're probably going to come back and maybe retest these lows here. Right? So what you have is maybe a bigger Wyckoff range, right? Which I don't know if that's the case. We just have to wait. Algo. I mean, you know, we've been following, this is a 2-week chart. We've been following quite some time here, right? Let's go to the weekly. So I would expect some kind of bounce come in soon. I mean, you know, we'll see. We'll see. Especially like if you look at Algorand, how long it's fallen, right? I mean, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or really you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. You got like 7 waves there, right? So typically you bounce up and then you kind of flag out after 7 waves, and then you come back up. You start, you know, this is your first break, and then you sort of waddle down here, and then you break out. And you get back up to, you know, 47 cents or so. Matic. Grabbing some liquidity here. Total 3. Back testing. SHIB. Also back testing. Right? 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. ABC 4. Let's get 5. 4, 5. FET 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ABC. Or it could be a complex ABC and then get 5. S&P still going up higher and higher and higher. It's going to be a big bubble. Doge built our base. We broke out of the base. We have an ABC back testing the top of the base. I mean, this is buying zones in here. Ethereum Classic. Yeah, I don't really know too much of Ethereum Classic. I mean, you got this trend line here. We broke out of it, but you know, definitely want to see these areas hold in here. We'll come back to that one. I mean, Theta versus Bitcoin, you know, we're still making higher lows here, so we'll see if we can get a higher high. Kind of, it could be some kind of maybe broadening wedge here, right, where you kind of, you know, have that broadening wedge pattern. So we'll see if that's the case. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Something like that. VeChain. Built your base, you broke out, you back tested it. I mean, they're basically all the same. XRP dominance. XRP dominance looks like it could flip around here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, I don't know. Like I'm sure we have bullish divergence as well. Look at that. We got triple bullish divergence on the weekly chart for dominance. That's definitely a thumbnail right there. Look at that. That's pretty insane. I think XRP's time is coming soon, man. I just can't. I mean, nobody deserves it more than the XRP community for how long they've suffered and how long they've been tied up with the corruption at the SEC. Let's look at gold real quick. I mean, gold is still chilling here. So what I'm looking at gold is we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. ABC, so 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That would be 3. So 1, 2, 3. Then we would get 4. Then we would get 5. So I want to see another hit to the high, then 4, then 5 for gold. Getting us, you know, at least above 26, 2700. And silver is the one I really like for a longer term investment. You know, stack silver. Rise, crash, retrace. We're sort of in reaccumulation here. 1, 2, 1, 2. I mean, this thing can get going. We'll see. Ethereum. By the way, hit that like button. I'm going to go over that hour mark. Really helps out. Appreciate it. You know what? I just realized something. Ethereum looks really like what Bitcoin did back in that wave 2. So look at this here. Right, we came up, we came down, we came back up. So if we go sideways, right? Something like that, right? So take a mental screenshot of that and look at this. There you go. It's just, it looks exactly the same where you have this move up, right? You come down. So think about Ethereum's right here. So we should go sideways and then break out. So here's Ethereum again, right? You can see that same kind of thing. If we go sideways in here, we break out. Looks plausible. We'll see. Look at Zcash. Look at all that weekly bullish divergence here. I mean, you got 1, 2, like quadruple, even more than that. Like even going back up here, you can, that's how you, I mean, sometimes it takes a long time for a divergence to play out here. But essentially what you have is a massive pump, and then you have a 3-wave pullback here. So you basically have an ABC. And it looks like 1, 2, it looks like it could be finishing here, or maybe one more drop and then back to the upside. What in tarnation is that? Oh, that's the market cap file. XRP. Uniswap, not really interesting. Kind of looks like that Bitcoin fractal where you kind of come like this. We'll see. Looks like a Wyckoff structure. You break out and you're kind of just maybe building a triangle here. So we'll see. Let's see how much gas is going to go up. I mean, oil looks really like the dollar. I mean, it looks like identical to the dollar. Isn't that interesting, right? The US dollar, petrodollar, corrupt system. XDC does not look good at all. I mean, you know, a lot of these charts, they don't, I mean, man, a lot of them look like they need much more downside, right? I mean, this looks like an ABC, right? 1, 2, it looks, you know, you had this sort of 3-wave shape here. Now you're coming back down. It just looks like this was a retracement and then you need to come back down, or you go into reaccumulation, then come back up. I mean, a lot of these, like ZIL, it's like hanging by a thread here. So it just seems like, you know, we could have a lot more downside, unfortunately, on some of these coins. You look at others, the top 10, I mean, same thing. We have 1, 2, 3, let's get 4 and 5. But if it's only a retracement, right, then we should come back down and go sideways here and then go later on, right? So AVAX, yeah, they all have the same kind of range. Some of them broke below the range, some of them broke above the range, and a lot of them are back testing. So, you know, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a 3-way pullback, and now you have, now this is the beginning of wave 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could still have a lot more downside to go. Some huge wave like that, because if this is wave 1, or wave, this will be 1, 2, wave 3, and then you get a big ABC pullback, then you get wave 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we could still have a lot more downside. You know, a lot of these altcoins could spell that picture. And, you know, Theta as well. You know, some of them like Caspa just continues to pump, pump, pump. But I'm sure you're getting, yeah, look at, you have triple weekly bearish divergence on Caspa. See, it's going up, that's going down. That's not good. Doesn't mean it can't keep going, right? I don't know really. I mean, this one's doing pretty decent. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 1, 2, 3. Amp. Is this just a pullback for more continuation? Or is this, going to set up for something higher? Render. One, two, three, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I mean, it looks finished to me. ICP. Dang. Definitely looks oversold. Definitely need a pullback here. On ICP. So I think the ending is coming, I think. That final flush, or, I mean, it could be done already. But yeah, a lot of these coins, man, they look bad. I mean, that's an M pattern right there. Right? If I flip that upside down, that would actually look bullish, because you're actually cupping into the resistance, cupping in, you're about to break out. So all of them I just looked at, they all look pretty bad. Right? So it's all going to be, again, it's all going to be contingent on Bitcoin getting that third wave. I mean, even H-bar, it looks like a bear flag. Right? If you look at it like that, it looks like a bear flag. So, you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, A, B, C. There's your retracement. Now you're going to go back down into a C leg, or you're going to go into reaccumulation. That's basically all of the coins in a nutshell. All right? So, when I look at USD Tether, I'm hoping that this could be, a three-way pullback. 1, 2, 3, 4, and we want 5. We want another low here, which would be really good for Bitcoin and crypto, right? T-drop. Yeah, it looks, we have a range here. We broke out of it, and now we're back testing it. We have a three-wave shape. We want to hold it here. So we want to hold these lows, right? We don't want to break below, or it's going to potentially make a double bottom, or it's going to break the low. But, when I look at Theta, it looks a lot better, right, than some of these other ones. We have a lot more wiggle room up here. We're holding strong, right? It doesn't look like it's hanging off a cliff like some of these other ones, although we only do have a three-wave shape. Right? So if this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 with a three-way pullback, you could get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 three-way pullback, and then continue to go down, making a giant ABC, right? And that could be what happens here for Theta, and people have to be aware of that, right? A, B, C, right? Back over here, October, I started my channel basically saying, look, I think Theta has a good chance at going up into the retracement levels back up here, right? But we barely missed it. But when you look at total 3, we actually nailed it. So if total 3 is already there and that retracement is over, it's very unlikely for it to get back up there unless Bitcoin has that fifth wave, which means this is either, if Bitcoin gets that fifth wave, we can get up here. If Bitcoin continues to dump, right, or, whatever, we can go into reaccumulation and then go at a later date. Or this can be an A, this can be a B, and then we get C, right? So this is a wave 1, A, B, C, and then we get wave 3, which will be huge, right? It would be 1, 2, it would be a massive third wave. So we might have a sort of sub 50 cent theta. That would be very interesting, right? So we'll talk more about the bearish idea, but first we want to see how this reacts in here. It could just be a three-way pullback. We'll see. But anyways, that'll do it for this video. Appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll get back at it either tomorrow or the following day. We'll see. Anyways, hit that like button. Really appreciate it. Drop a comment. Let me know what you think. And obviously not financial advice. And I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.